More than 500,000 people around the world have died from COVID-19 since January. A vaccine is essential, but developing vaccines typically takes years. Carolyn Johnson takes a look now at a controversial type of clinical trial that speeds up the process by giving the volunteers the vaccine and then giving them the virus.
It's literally paralyzed the world. And it's wreaking so much havoc here in the States.
Nancy Alvarado worries about the deep toll COVID-19 is taking across the globe and in her Atwater Village community.
I'm not a very good cook, so we eat out a lot. And just knowing all these little restaurants that we love so much and how much they're suffering.
But most of all, she worries about her parents.
My parents are in their mid-60s. My mom has very sensitive lungs. She gets asthma. She's so prone to bronchitis. Oh my God, I don't know what I would do if anything happened to them. So, oh my God, I'm getting emotional. Yeah.
So Nancy, desperate to be helpful in any way she could, volunteered for a human challenge trial.
It's a way of learning about a disease or testing a vaccine by deliberately exposing people to infection.
That is the key distinction. In traditional trials, people get the vaccine and then go back to their communities where they may or may not be exposed. Challenge trials accelerate the process because it's certain the vaccine is facing off against the virus, saving time and requiring fewer volunteers.
And so in a traditional trial, to test the effectiveness of a vaccine, you might test 10,000 or even more people. For example, the malaria vaccine that's being deployed tested 15,000 people over 5 years. A challenge study tests normally about maybe 100 people and might take a couple months.
Josh Morrison is the executive director of One Day Sooner. He's advocating for challenge volunteers.
Anything that we can do to end this sooner and to save lives, we need to do.
Since launching the website, more than 31,000 volunteers from around the world have signed up, including more than 1,600 people from California.
That has been, absolutely inspiring.
But benefits must be measured against physical and ethical risks. While human challenge studies have been done before for diseases such as malaria and influenza, COVID is more complicated. As one bioethicist noted recently, a rush to begin human challenge studies for grave disease lacking an effective treatment is ethically unjustifiable. But with more than 50,000 new cases every day in the U.S., Dr. Stanley Korenman, Associate Dean of Ethics at UCLA School of Medicine, disagrees.
But we really can't afford to wait until we have something that's curative. That's why they're so determined to get a vaccine, because the expectation is there won't be anything really curative for a period of time, maybe for several years.
The World Health Organization requires participants to be fully informed of risks. Critics say that can't happen because so little is known about this new virus. But given the stakes, Dr. Korenman supports these trials.
You can understand the risks without understanding the disease at all, because the risks have been explained to us by what's happened to patients.
Perhaps the biggest ethical challenge is the idea of a few people having to potentially sacrifice for the greater good. In a letter of support to the FDA, 35 members of Congress, including Californians Brad Sherman, Katie Porter, and Tony Cardenas, make the comparison to war. There is a long tradition of volunteers risking their health and lives on dangerous missions for which they understand the risks and are willing to do so in order to help save the lives of others. As for Nancy, she remains committed to the trial, even though her husband has some concerns.
To be honest, he hopes I change my mind.
Nancy, like so many of these volunteers, wants to be part of the solution.
We need to end this as soon as we can.
Carolyn Johnson, NBC4 News.